Hello, 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 and welcome, my Leo collective Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus signs. Welcome to your twin flame contract reading for February and March 2020. Timeless, depending on when you're seeing it. I'm doing it towards the end of February, so I'm including that in there. I am your reader, Angelo, Lyons, president of During the Circle Productions. Professional witch, professional intuitive, and Leo rising, if you can't tell from the hair. And very, very happy. Fifth house pleasurable to be working for you today, serving you today. If you're new to my channel, please do like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, comment as you so choose, because I'm having a field day. And doing this YouTube work, taking clients from around the planet is kind of cool. There is a special thank you video for my subscribers. First link down under the description itself in the description box for getting me to 1,000 subscribers and beyond. Very, very happy. We're setting up Drunk Tarot in the super live chat. We just have some stuff we need to get taken care of first along the way, and we will be doing that. So for my returning subscribers, thank you so much for subscribing. I'm so touched. Go watch the video. It's a little on the sweet side, but so am I. And if you are new, please do subscribe. There's a lot of fun to be had here on this channel, because I'm the fun one. As for this reading, however, let's get down to business. This is a general read, right? Please check your other signs. Take what resonates, leave what does not, because you just can't read everybody spot on in a collective of hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people per zodiac sign, and then you do Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus. That's a lot of people. So the best we can do is get themes from the quantum field. That's what we do, and that's what I'm good at, apparently. And if you would like more accuracy, feel free to book me for a reading. I do Facebook, Skype, as well as telephone readings, or if you're on Long Island, anywhere near Riverhead, Long Island. I'm working out of Yogaholic in Riverhead, Long Island. You can book me there. Or if I know you can come to my house. I'll make house calls every now and again, too. Cool, cool. That's what I mean by professional intuitive. It's not like I have a job at Citibank during the day and then I do this. This is my gig. Yeah. So that being said, this is a twin flame contract read. Twin flames and soulmates, not the same thing. The only thing those two phrases have in common are that they are soul contracts, pre-incarnational agreements you make before coming into this life, right? We are chosen by the divine as souls to play the roles in certain bodies with certain names and certain agreements that we make before we come down to play the role in human form. So the difference between the two is a soulmate contract. You help each other heal. And by the way, you have more than one soulmate. And by the way, they're not all romantic sexual, right? Like my mom and I are soulmates. We help each other heal, have really since I was born. Twin flames, this contract we're going to look at. The bottom line of the contract is you teach each other how to heal yourselves. You teach each other how to love yourselves, how to set boundaries, how to figure out what you will stand for and what you won't. Because twin flame contracts, like fire, are transformative, turbulent, tumultuous, tricky, triggery, and they make you learn how to heal yourself, because they cannot, by contract, give you the love that you want. My father and I were twin flame contract, no question. He wanted a Republican, heterosexual Catholic. He got a liberal, gay witch as a son. So though we loved each other very, very much, we could never give each other that kind of acceptance. Why? I had to learn how to give myself that acceptance. And that's a twin flame contract. Fulfilled. God rest his soul, Dad. One of my spirit team now. We love each other. We get each other, right? And just like soulmates, they can be in any number of shapes and forms in your life, not just romantic, sexual. So that's what this contract read is going to be about. We're going to scan your contract, get some divination, some guidance, and some grace. But we're going to do it in a very interesting way. Party A and Party B, right? The two people in the contract. We're going to be looking at divine feminine will be the top line. Divine masculine will be the second line. The third line will be the contract itself. So when we're talking divine feminine, divine masculine, we are not talking about bodily gender. In the East, they would call it divine yin or divine yang, which is more like the terminals of a battery, positive, negative, negative, positive, more about energy dynamic. I myself consider myself a divine feminine. Look what I do for a living. I am a gay male, right? It's a lot of feminine energy there. And yet, on a date, I don't know, I turn into daddy top real quick. Yeah, so what I do in my work and what I do in my play, very different dynamics. So yeah, more yin at work, more yang at play, right? You get me? So you're going to have to figure out intuitively who you are, right? The divine feminine or the divine masculine in the contract, although twin flames, because of the twin aspect, you may be mirroring each other. So again, take what resonates, leave what doesn't, all the way around. And a good way to tune to your intuition while we do that is to focus on your breath. To find the still point of the present moment where the divine resides. Because at core, intuition, like your gut, not just, you know, the upper clairvoyant, clairaudient stuff, but down deep in your gut will tell you how it feels in your body. What does that energy feel like? Because, like, even if you get 75% of accuracy in a YouTube reading, that's really good. That's why I check your other signs, which is why I try and keep them fun and educational and make, like, dick jokes here and there. Definitely a Leo rising. Cool, cool. So I'm going to partner with my breath, tuning to the still point. If you do the same, we're both tuning to the same source from whence this reading comes. Hence a bit more accuracy than usual. I'm a mystic. Welcome to my world. Let's get up in this gig. Nice deep breath. We're going to start with the Caroline Myss archetype cards. 3 cards, 1 for the divine feminine, 1 for the divine masculine, 1 for the contract itself, and then we're off and running. So bear with me while I call upon my collective pantheons. Here we go. Breathe. Still point. My collective pantheon of angels, goddesses, gods, masters, and the higher selves of all involved, mine included. I'm a Leo rising. Please, I need 3 cards. 1 to represent the divine feminine, 1 card to represent the divine masculine, and 1 to represent the overall contract itself for this Leo collective Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus sign twin flame relationship contract relationship for February to March 2020. So first the divine feminine, please just put it right in my hand. Thank you. Always deal face down. 1 for the divine masculine, please. Oh, I felt that one. It's in here. Here he is. There's the divine masculine. Remember, he and she just take, you know, be gentle. Not talking about body parts. And 1 overall, please, my pantheons, for this Leo collective Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus sign twin flame contract, February, March 2020. Done with that deck. Now, before I reveal who and what these are, I have to say this, these archetype cards can be a little triggery because they deal with shadow and light, lead and gold, negative, positive. The shadow side, the negative side, whatever you want to call it, the lead, is the toxicity that you are in this contract to learn how to heal for yourself, to love and embrace for yourself, whatever it is. The light attribute is what you are shooting for. So you're given like a little quickie thumbnail in maybe 2 sentences or less, saying what these vibes are about. Archetypes are soul patterns, parts of the contract, which is why I use them in contract reads. So let's look at our divine feminine first, shall we? Who we got here? Now I'm going to say this word. It's one of the 4 survival archetypes. Everybody has this one, but as soon as I say the word, people are going to get offended, right? Because there are 4 archetypes in the survival family that everybody has. The child, not so bad. The victim, which is also the victor. Remember, they're neutral, positive and negative. The saboteur, which is also the empowerer. And the prostitute, which is the one this is. And it has so very little to do with sex. I mean, a part of it does. But when I read it, it will make more sense. It's really about faith. Faith versus comfort. Can you stand being uncomfortable when it comes to walking or acting on your faith in terms of empowering yourself? Will you negotiate away pieces of your soul, your self-esteem, in order to maintain your comfort level? That kind of stuff. So in a soulmate, in a twin flame contract, this stuff is like standard, right? So don't freak, because the opportunity to act upon your faith in a really strong, powerful way for yourself and for the well-being of all is available here, and that might very much be what this contract is about. So let's look. The shadow attribute. By the way, there she is. She's covered in money, which, she's laying back. She's covered in cash. Somebody made it rain. Shadow attribute places material consideration and security above self-empowerment. So it's literally keeping yourself disempowered because someone's paying the bills. Now, I know sex workers. I have worked with sex workers, not throughout my entire life, but here, there, and everywhere. Like, they've come for readings. A lot of them just trying to get out of the business, can't figure out how to do that in terms of prostitution. Call girls, etc. I don't know if they're called that anymore. But, even in the sex industry, there are people who do it for a time and then they want to, like, move on. They grow through it. But that thing of, oh, well, I don't have any other skills, rather than trust that the divine has a plan for them and that the divine doesn't hold sex work against anybody. So I'm using that as an example of the prostitute archetype within a sex worker. Not that all sex workers are prostitutes, you know what I mean, right? So chances are you're dealing with this in a different way, but that thing of placing material considerations over your own faith and your own empowerment, right? That's what this contract is helping you face, the lead, the shadow, to move you towards the light attribute. Accentuates the challenge of surviving without negotiating the power of your spirit. In other words, you're not selling off pieces of yourself. You're not going against your own honor code. You're not selling yourself short. And the example, because I live on Long Island, like, how many people are in toxic marriages because they have a nice house and they don't want to sell the house? It's like, okay, so you two will be fucking miserable for the rest of your lives, but you have a nice house. That's an example. Now, if that's hitting right on the nose here, I just pulled that out of random, but, guides. So let's look at the divine masculine. Who's the divine masculine here? The hedonist archetype. I have the hedonist archetype. Now, I also have the prostitute archetype, because everybody does. But I love my hedonist archetype. It is lifelong. Now, the shadow of it is horrendous, but the light of it is really beautiful. The shadow attribute pursues pleasure to the detriment of health, indulges at the expense of others. And honey, I lived through the 80s. Woo, did we indulge at the expense of others, man. Forget eyes wide shut. We were on coke. Our eyes were wide the fuck open. So very, very intense. In the shadow hedonist, we're all familiar with a toxic hedonist, right? And there is another card in this deck for the addict, too. So it's not immediately linked. The hedonist is a member of the wild card family, I believe. So it's one of those ones that's a little hard to pin down. The light attribute, however, inspires creative energy to embrace the good things in life, celebrates the beauty in yourself, rock and roll. My my natal patron god is Dionysus. He's the god of hedonists, right? And theater and drag and wine and ecstasy and transcendence. But, yeah, okay, he had somebody ripped to pieces by his own mother, but, you pissed him off. That's what happens. Shadow. But for the divine masculine thing here, this feels like this could very much be a romantic sexual deal, although we will see. Now, there are so many cards in these decks that I work with that come right out and say that. I prefer to wait until those do, because I am reading for a collective, so I don't want to say, oh, it's definitely sexual, and there might be information in here with somebody who's dealing with a parent or a child or a sibling or a coworker or a boss, right? Because twin flames come in all packages. So how about this overall contract, what we got here? See, this is what shifts it up. The overall contract has the magical child archetype. Now, the child archetype is also, like the prostitute, a survival family archetype. Everybody was a child. So everybody learned how to survive from the moment they were born with their first breath, right? There are certain patternings and soul lessons encoded in this. But the child archetype, unlike the victim, the saboteur, the prostitute, child archetype has subcategories, if you will, or sub-archetypes. This is the magical child. There's also the nature child, the orphan child, the divine child, the nature child, on and on and on and on and on. Really, a study of inner child work alone. Shakti Gawain's Living in the Light is where I learned about a good chunk of the different types of inner children that we have. This is akin to that. This is more Jungian than Shakti Gawainian. I don't know. God rest her soul. Bless her heart. So let me read you the magical child, shadow, and light. The shadow attribute: pessimism, depression, and disbelief in miracles, believing that energy and action are not required for growth. Now, I have dated people with that, where, you know, something happens in the relationship and they're like, well, we'll just have to see how it goes. I'm like, no, let's actually take some steps of healing. Let's do some reconciliation work. Let's move things along. But I'm a hedonist. It's like, let's get down to it. Let's do the work so we can get back to play, right? But the light attribute, the divine masculine, that this overall contract is moving both the prostitute and the hedonist towards the divine feminine, the divine masculine, seeing the potential for sacred beauty in all things. And that's sacred beauty in all things, not just the physical appearance. The belief that everything is possible. So it could be that one of you is in the shadow, one of you is in the light, or both in the shadow, both in the light. We will see how that plays out. Those are our three dominant energies. Everything else that hits the table will be in clarification of those. Cool? Let's dive a little further. We're going to ask the angels with the Healing with the Angels Oracle by Dorian Virtue. 3 cards, 1 for each line. Nice deep breath. Still point. Oh, my angels. Oh, it feels so good. I could really do that all day long. Wouldn't get much done, but it feels really nice. My angels, please. Hedonist that I am. 1 card. Actually, let's do these 1, 2, 3. 3 cards. 1 for the divine feminine prostitute, 1 for the divine masculine hedonist, and 1 for the magical child twin flame contract here for this Leo collective. Sun, moon, rising, Venus sign. Twin flame contract for February to March 2020. Please, my angels, 1 for the divine feminine. This one, come on. That was tricky. Tricky prostitute. 1 for the divine masculine hedonist, please, straight off the top. And 1 for this Leo collective, sun, moon, rising, Venus sign, twin flame magical child twin flame contract. All right. The prostitute, what is the healing angel, right? It's Healing with the Angels Oracle. What's the Healing with the Angels going on? Celebration. So right there, we're looking at a rite of passage, usually rites of passage. Certain plateaus you reach, you celebrate, right? And even in the deck, there's the full moon in the sky, saying that something has come to fruition. And there she is, standing in almost goddess position, drawing down the moon, right? Or an angel with wings, you just go fly up and touch it, drag it down to the planet. But you sort of get that, right? It's like this prostitute maybe has really found a means to celebrate. Now, and it's weird to keep saying the word prostitute over and over and over, but that's the word on the card. And sometimes when things are going well, we have more faith that we're being taken care of, particularly if we're celebrating an achievement of some kind, even if it's somebody else's. There's joy, there's upliftment, there's optimism there, which then we tend to lean more towards the light, right? The light attribute accentuates the challenge of surviving without negotiating the power of one's spirit, because one's spirit has been uplifted. But that's usually a temporary if it is triggered or inspired by an external event, like a graduation, like an anniversary, things that we celebrate, right? So that might be a little under time release, then it sort of wears off and you're back to where you were, hopefully a little bit further ahead, a little bit wiser, or at least a bit rested. So let's see what the divine masculine hedonist, what's the angel working with them? The angel of nature. Now, there are 2 meanings to this card that jump out at me every single time. One is the obvious, right? go out, walk children in nature with Tammy Brown. What can I tell you, right? You know, and I'm an earth sign. I'm a Virgo. So, you know, put me in the forest or at the beach, I'm good to go. Like, put me in the Pines or Cherry Grove, really, I've got forest and beach. I don't meat rack. No, I was not raised to walk the meat rack. If I have to go from one to the other, I'll take the beach. Thank you very much. Or a boat. But that's like one aspect of nature. The other aspect of nature is that there's something in this hedonist's nature, right? Not something that was taught or learned, but something in this soul's nature that is, you know, nature is neutral. People are like, no, nature is all good. If it's all natural, how can it harm you? Snake venom. Earthquakes, lightning strikes. Nature's fucking fatal, man. Depends on how she's feeling during the day. So there's something here about the innate nature. And if this is about moving throughout, touching, connecting with the inherent unified field, right? Fifth dimensional aspect of nature, because the planet's already in fifth dimensional unity consciousness. We are just becoming what? Aware of it. Unity consciousness. Everything's one already. So that's a really great way to connect. And certainly as a hedonist, I can go out to the woods by myself. Well, I have the woods. I prefer arboretums. Thank you very much. Bayer cutting arboretum, right? It's so beautiful. Let me walk through there. It's like walking through a battery. It recharges me. But then that also brings out my what? My true nature. One of peace, one of grace, one of relaxation, one of love, right? So this seems like a decent couple. Celebration in nature, nothing chaotic yet. What's going on then in the relationship, the pattern of the relationship itself with this magical child? Signs. Signs, synchronicities. I don't use the word coincidence anymore. Coincidence, it means two incidents happening at the same time. I prefer synchronicity, same time is what the word means. So those signs, it's like the universe, the angels are giving you signs. They're giving you pointers in this relationship. And of course the magical child in its light is going to be receptive to seeing those, maybe even acting on it if it feels safe. The shadow child, not so much, is going to ignore it, right? Or just think it's horse shit because it tried following a sign once and it didn't get what it wanted, but probably got what it needed, right? You can't always get what you want, but if you try sometime. Let's move on. We're going to clarify now with two different tarot decks. Everything else is oracle. For the Divine Feminine, we're going to pick two cards from the Daughters of the Moon Tarot. Fiona Morgan. For the Divine Masculine, we're going to pick two cards from the Mythic Tarot, Juliet Sharman Burke. You'll see how I lay them out. I like this part because I've done twin flame readings like this before, but this is the twist. It's a twist. Nice deep breath. Let's ask the goddesses what's going on here. Still point. Oh my goddesses. Please. Two cards for this Divine Feminine Prostitute archetype and one for the Twin Flame contract itself. This Leo Collective Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus sign Twin Flame contract. Please, one for this Divine Feminine Prostitute, my goddesses, archetype, and one for the overall Leo Collective Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus sign Twin Flame contract, February to March 2020, into March, whole month. Let's do the same for the Divine Masculine so we can read them together, right? Still point. Oh my gods, my delicious Leo gods, please. Two cards, one for the Divine Masculine Hedonist and one for this Twin Flame contract. So for this this Leo Collective Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus sign Twin Flame contract, one for the Divine Masculine and one for this Leo Collective Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus sign Twin Flame contract, February, March 2020. There we go. Pretty painless so far. Let's have a look. So this Divine Prostitute with celebration, right? Well, and the Hora, Hava Nagila, Ten of Flames, completion of desire. So she's probably flying high. Like, she set a goal. She had a desire. She got it. She manifested it. So that card of celebration with the Hora, if you've never been to a Jewish bar mitzvah, bat mitzvah, or wedding, I mean, to me, it's sort of the high point is the, well, it figures the choreography. I'm a dancer. I've been trained. Dionysus, right? Dionysian archetype. Of course I know how to dance. Yeah, I know how to dance. Never on a pole, though. Never had to. Ballet bar, but that's different. So, you know, it's that rousing. It's the being lifted on chairs. It's such a completion, but always done at a rite of passage, but not a funeral, right? It's not appropriate for a funeral. So if you kind of get that joyous communal, it's just so powerful and really brings the tribe together, right? Keep in mind, my mother divorced my father, married her divorce lawyer, a Jewish man, so I grew up with all that stuff. So very, very comfortable in that scenario, and I have been to some really good bar mitzvahs and bat mitzvahs. The food, oh my God, so good. One of them I went to, they took oranges, cut them in half, hollowed out most of the orange, froze it, and then served vodka out of it. It was so good. Tanked. Thank God I wasn't driving. Let's look then for this divine masculine hedonist with this card of nature that has a little bit of a question mark on it for me. What do the gods have to say? Oh, good. I mean, Nine of Pentacles. Nine of Pentacles is really having your own stability and security within yourself. Yes, it can mean you have your own money. It can mean you have your own place, your own space, your own company, making your own coin, taking care of yourself physically, right? But there's something missing here, unlike in the 10. This isn't the 10 of Pentacles. This is the 9 of Pentacles. So this hedonist might very well be a bit more independent. That might just be in their nature. And, you know, and if this is the Leo, you got to look at other planets. But Leos tend to want to be the center of attention. They are the center of the solar system. Everything else revolves around them, right? So maybe this divine feminine prostitute is sort of dancing around or is in his orbit, so to speak. And remember, we're not talking gender here. We're not talking males and females. But certainly hedonists can be surrounded by people in that way. And if that is his nature, then his nature, there are even grapevines going on in this deck. Then this guy's really got it together. He has his own wealth, his own financial or at least physical stability. So one would think, without it being the 10 where you're sharing your wealth with others, really perhaps there's a wisdom there that gives him the strength and support of his own nature to be hedonistic without sliding in to the shadow, unless it's completely selfish, which is really deep dark into the shadow, but I'm not feeling that. Let's keep going. So for the divine magical child, the magical child archetype, divine child, a different archetype entirely with signs. And remember, in the light, that magical child is going to see and believe everything's possible. The shadow, not so much. None of this is possible. This is all bullshit, right? So it can be either one, but I don't know. I like the feeling of both of these here. So let's see what's going on here. We've got the Sagittarius card and the Emperor. Now, let me put these down. The vibe I get on these, just holding them, is that we'll start with the Emperor. The Emperor is definitely the amalgamation, the collection, the blending of all the kings in the tarot, right? So King of Swords, King of Wands, King of Cups, King of Pentacles. But this is Zeus, okay? Like in this card, it is actually Zeus, king of the mountain, daddy of the gods, the king of all the gods. So we're looking here at a very dominant energy. So this contract, very procedural, but perhaps very, there's a dominant vibe on this. Maybe for both of them, but my sense is with this Nine of Pentacles, probably more the divine masculine in terms of that solitary figure who's sort of making all the calls, making all the decisions, where then the prostitute may be benefiting from that, but may not be taking acts of empowerment because things are so good financially, physically, sexually, if it goes that way. Now, I could see this absolutely being the parent being the hedonist and the child being the prostitute, like not wanting to go out on their own and, you know, find their fate, you know, take their journey, letting everybody else, particularly this one, paying for it. But what shifts that or adds to it is the Sagittarian energy. Now, what's interesting about this is that Zeus sits in the throne of Sagittarius for me. So that's, you know, I'm in this reading most likely if that's there. So to keep an eye on the procedural, right? Because the card of the Emperor is like set patterns and protocols. I had a brilliant tarot reader read me back in the 80s. She was a Harvard professor. God, do you think I could remember her name? Barbara something. I can't remember her last name off the top of my head, probably for her anonymity. I shouldn't. But she explained the Emperor as definitely about a procedural thing, right? Like the scientific process, like the scientific method, right? Like you have to go through the stages, hypothesis, and test it in order to come to your conclusion. Well, if you think of diplomacy, if you think of ruling an empire is not a kingdom. An empire has different kingdoms within it, right? So this really is the god at the top of the mountain in terms of the emperor, but there's something expansive here. There's something mutable fire here, very desirable, very expansive. Well, because if you like, here's another way of looking at it. Zeus, right? In Roman, the Roman name of Zeus is Jupiter, and Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. So a card of wealth and expansion and joy and big ideas and, you know, altering consciousness, expanding consciousness, metaphysics, all that stuff. So with that magical child archetype here, this could be a very, not just lucrative, but expansive twin flame contract where maybe they're traveling in their minds, maybe there's hallucinogenic stuff going on here, but with that magical child there's also something very innocent about this relationship, that even though this is twin flame, they might not be aware of it, they may just be having fun right now, which is I think the bait for most twin flame contracts, but it's so much fun and it's so passionate. Even if it's not sexual or romantic, right? It can be that a lot of money came in, a lot of good fortunes here, one way or another, and the two of them are really reveling in it, having a really good time, yet that divine masculine maybe holding back a touch, not fully committed, and in the contract itself, it feels lucrative, feels expansive, but also, here's the word, feels like there are some definite control systems in place here. That's the word I was looking for, more than protocols, controls. Because protocols and diplomacy and stuff like that is flexible, but a control isn't, right? It's sort of like the circuitry. You want the circuit board, this power to run a certain way, and often when it's questioned, Zeus throws lightning, right? You don't question his authority. I just wonder if that's leaning... Well, it is the Divine Masculine card, so maybe that is the Divine Masculine in all of this. Let's keep going. These should shed some light and some shadow. The Chuck Spezzano Love Pack, right? Half the deck is the suit of problem, right? Because you want to know what the problems are. Just helpful, right? Very relationship-based deck, very Course in Miracles-based. I am both a student and a teacher of Course in Miracles. I teach it to pagans, which is kind of fun. I translate it for them. Oh, by the way, my Facebook group, it's a private Facebook group, Mark, Angelo, Lyons, Mel for short. I live stream there every couple of days or so. We do the new moons, I do card draws, we do full moons, we do Sabbats, all that stuff. But a very, very supportive group. If you're interested, the link is in the deck below. Because the other half of this deck, because we all have problems to deal with, are luck, the suit of luck, the suit of healing, and the suit of grace. So let's ask the Ascended Masters, those who've already played this game and are reaching back through the dimensions of time and space to assist those still in it, right? Nice deep breath. Oh, boy, still point. Just lands so neatly, please, my Ascended Masters. That felt lovely. 3 cards for this Leo Collective Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus sign twin flame contract for February, March 2020. Please, one for the Divine Feminine, Prostitute, one for the divine masculine hedonist, and one for the overall contract, the magical child contract. Pretty easy. Let's see. Let's do it this way. So we got the prostitute archetype who's celebrating, doing Hava Nagila, dancing in a circle, completion of fire, 10 of flames, 10 of wands. And with intimacy. Okay, I think we are moving gradually, steadily towards this being more sexual romantic. However, you can have intimacy with a family member in terms of sharing your secrets and being vulnerable. In fact, a lot of sexual romantic relationships are missing the intimacy because people are afraid to reveal their true feelings, show their light, show their soul. The fear, if you see who I really am, you will recoil in horror. Where the truth is, when you show people who you really are, chances are they will love you, right? So that's tricky. We're afraid of both of those outcomes. Well, that's the ego for you, right? So something here about intimacy. Now, this deck definitely paints it as more sexual romantic, but that, like I said, need not be so. We will see. We're going to take that moment by moment because I want to see what's hitting next for this divine masculine hedonist. What's going on with nature? What's his nature? Well, there's definitely a wealthy aspect to his nature. So what's the Chuck Spezzano love pack card? Happiness. So we've got intimacy and happiness so far from the Chuck Spezzano love pack. So something is indicative here that very, very happy on his own. A hedonist would be, which leads me to lean towards this self-sufficient hedonist that might have a bit more of this mystical, magical, maybe even a spiritual practice, some kind of meditation to sort of fill oneself up from within, or perhaps really is a naturist, somebody who's out in nature, enjoying that clarity, that quiet, meaning no cell phones and all of that stuff, really very happy there on their own, happy on his own, right? And really, I think that's a wonderful foundation, not just for hedonism, but for relationships, that each person is able to find their own happiness from within. Because joy is the natural state of our soul, but in between there, happiness is a decision we must make. That's Course in Miracles too. Oh, right, I'm doing Chuck Spezzano, that's why. So let's look at this, the relationship itself, the contract itself. We've got the magical child archetype, with signs, and we're getting them, the Sagittarian, Zeusy, Emperor kind of signs, that these two came out together, two different decks. Fear of inadequacy. Knew it was coming one way or another, not that specifically, but I had to, there's an awful lot of ointment here for there not to be a fly in it, right? So if we're looking at the fear of inadequacy, it's one person at the top of the stairs saying, hey, come on, all the love is here, and the person at the bottom is like, womp womp, I don't know if I can handle it. Louise Hay, and You Can Heal Your Life, wonderful book. Read it back in the 80s. In the opening chapter, she really does say, I'm not good enough is the core or root fear that everybody has. So that's understandable. Why wouldn't a twin flame bring that up, particularly when everything is going well, that both of them feel like they're inadequate, that there's a fear of inadequacy, that I don't know how long I can sit. Maybe I shouldn't invest because what if, like I said, if people see who you really are, you are afraid they will recoil in horror. But if you really are vulnerable and show them who you truly are, not just your wounds, but the love underneath those, then they will love you. They will understand you. And that's essential for true love. You can't hold things back. But this is twin flame, not true love, but definitely in preparation for true love. If you're really dealing with what I'm hearing, the inferior ego. See, the superior ego is like, no, I'm amazing, everybody else sucks. This is like, no, everybody else is amazing, I suck. And it feels like they share that. That might be what they're learning from each other, is that they are good enough because God don't make no junk. Yeah. I know God's love me because God don't make no junk. Let's do another line of cards. I haven't touched cocaine since the 80s, thank you. We are going to use the Whispers of Love Oracle for you, my Leo collective, the voices of your higher selves. Now, my higher self is in this too. And honestly, if I was going to identify with one of these two, it would be the Divine Masculine Hedonist. And like I said, I'm used to identifying as a Divine Feminine. But I do love going out to nature, and I do have my own, and I am very happy. So I'm sort of reeling with that. And right now, I'm not really doing well. And again, this is like just doing this reading now. This can play out anywhere through February or March. So let's get a message from the higher self, a whisper of love. And I love this oracle. It just sometimes comes out and says, whack, this is what it is. Sort of eliminates a lot of guesswork. Nice deep breath. We'll get the best we can for you. Still point. The higher self collective, the higher selves of all involved, mine included. Please, 3 cards for this Leo collective. Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus sign, Twin Flame contract for February, March 2020. Please, first one for the Divine Feminine Prostitute. There we go. That was easy. Second one for the Divine Masculine Hedonist. That one just popped right out. And third one for the overall Leo collective, Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus sign, Magical Child, Twin Flame contract, February, March 2020. Let's do this again. We've got the Prostitute archetype with Celebration, Hava Nagila, 10 of Flames, the Hora, with Intimacy. I mean, she's having a field day. So what does the higher self say? Miracles and blessings. Everything has its gift. Now, technically, the definition of a miracle is the way Muggles see it, at least. I love that word. Muggles. Is something happens that defies natural law. Spiritually, a miracle, though, because like I said, I'm a student of Course in Miracles, is a shift in consciousness from a thought system based in fear to a thought system based in love. So one from, for example, fear of inadequacy to that we are all one and we're all doing the best that we can in terms of compassion, right? There is an example of a miracle, a shift in consciousness within the self. Will that change things in the outside? Maybe, but that's not what's important in terms of that. So she's experiencing like some miracle stuff going on here. It makes sense with that card of Celebration and the Hora and that intimacy, that this is really unfolding. It feels very much in a lovely, lovely way for her. It can be that this Twin Flame contract ain't ready to burn yet. It may still be in its infancy stages, though. This might be a new one. And one where she may not have to be selling off pieces of herself just yet. It feels like she's getting her needs met, but that everything has its gift. Enjoy this time, Divine Feminine, because twin flames usually heat up and transform quickly, too hot not to cool down, as I think where the twin flame... I think that phrase, too hot not to cool down, came from twin flames. So let's see what's going on for this Divine Masculine Hedonist with nature. We discussed that. And this 9 of Pentacles, having his own, being very secure within his own self, his own body, his own finances, but not necessarily sharing it so readily, but very, very happy with it. And there are no asshole cards in this Whisper of Love Oracle. Turn on your heart light, let it shine wherever you go. Allow yourself in this moment to reflect on a time when you experienced love. So there is definitely, okay, so I get it. She's all intimacy. He's like, no, I'm happy, this is fine, but not necessarily sharing himself, not necessarily plugged in. And, kind of looking through these cards here, there are no cups in the tarot. Granted, there are only 4 tarot cards here, but none of them have water, particularly for him, right? Where did he go? Right, he's got 9 of Pentacles there. So that's the thing. Well, Divine Masculines tend to be more air and fire. Divine Feminine is more water and earth. So it makes sense. The Divine Feminine is feeling that physical, emotional intimacy where he kind of needs to turn on his heart light. He sort of needs to open up his heart here because this happiness could very well be, hey, come here, conditional or what's called object happiness. In other words, as long as the larder is full, as long as there's money in the account, as long as I'm getting my stuff touched willingly, wanting it to be, then I'll be happy. But there might be a little bit of an emotional disconnect here. And that could be about that magical child about, well, yeah, it's fun, but it'll never turn into anything. That stuff never happens for me. Meanwhile, so it really looks like the Divine Feminine is the light attribute of the magical child, right? Seeing the potential for sacred beauty in all things, the belief that everything is possible. Come on, Milky. Are you my magical child? Come on up. He's my little booger. He's my baby kitty. I'm over here. Let people see you, so that they don't think I'm talking to... Well, you are a black cat on a black chair with a black jacket on it. You want to come up? You see him? He's my baby. All right. Could be the Divine Masculine here is working that shadow attribute, pessimism. I wouldn't say depression because he's got that happiness card, but disbelief in miracles. Oh, and she's got the miracle card. So that might be the real tension point between these two. Now, again, is this romantic sexual? Not really seeing it spelled out, could be there, but this could easily be parent-child, easily be employer-employee. So what's the whisper of love for this? Honesty is essential. To be a loving person, it is important that we speak truthfully and in a loving manner. So my sense is that this Divine Feminine prostitute, if that's really true, that she's experiencing everything as a miracle and blessing, and why wouldn't she? The external world, at least, this card of celebration, the hora and intimacy, she's getting her physical needs met, even her element of fire desires met. This Divine Masculine, though, might be in his nature, yes, to be totally into the pleasure of it and the physical beauty of it. But that Nine of Pentacles might not be so vulnerable, right? So ready to share of himself, though happy with the way things are, could be object-dependent happy. But turn on your heart light, open your heart, because the honesty is essential here. To say, you know, this is so wonderful, but I feel like I'm not good enough. Like I would open up, I'm not good enough, if that's the voice of the Divine Masculine there. Look, honesty, people don't understand that there's a difference between lying and truth. And there's also a difference between speaking the truth and compassionate honesty. It is the Dalai Lama, I say this every time this card comes up. The Dalai Lama, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, said that truth without compassion is brutality. So we're not just talking about a laying of the cards on the table here. It's doing it in a loving manner, right? We've got one more card going on here. It's a very interesting contract. Because the child is here, I'm getting this might be something relatively new with a lot of expansion, but also a lot of control. And I'm feeling like the Divine Masculine controls the purse strings here, controls the money, controls the finances, the flow of the materiality of this relationship. So there needs to be an equality here, although the prostitute archetype might be very willing to surrender and just go with it because she's getting her physical and physical needs and desires met. So let's get our last card down here. What puddin'? I know your dinner's coming up. I'll feed you guys as soon as I'm done. Is it time for your dinner? Close enough. Got about an hour. So nice deep breath. Let's ask. He's totally bunting my foot with his head. Why? Because he's a stubborn Taurus. Come here. I'm gonna make this video run really long. Come on. Nope. Yeah, there you go. He's such a mush. I love him. He's the youngest. He's the youngest of three. I'm the youngest in my family. Sorry. Nice deep breath. Still point. My milky work. Hey, don't be shocked. A witch got distracted by one of his black cats. Still point. My Ascended Masters of Twin Flame contracts, please. One healing mantra card from the Matt Kahn Healing Mantra deck. Healing in that whoever's going to work this, whoever's watching this mantra, if both of them are lovely, but it feels like it's going to be the Divine Feminine who's watching this. She seems to be more open to the miracles and blessings, but if it's the Divine Masculine, Mazel Tov, whoever is working this mantra, yes, it will help somewhat heal the relationship, but it will definitely work towards helping them. So my Ascended Masters, please. One card, in clarity. The perfect healing mantra for this overall Leo collective Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus sign twin flame contract for February, March 2020. Please, what is the perfect mantra for them? There it is. Now, before I look at it, one side of the card is the mantra, the other side is the name of the mantra, so I can look it up in the little booklet, which is really good. Really, really good. Who'd you get here? Deconstructing doubt. Fear of inadequacy. Not sure how this is going to go. I didn't realize there could be that element of doubt in here. But considering all of the other cards here are pretty simpatico, the only one that's not kind of flowing is this fear of inadequacy. Only my beliefs are in my way. Only my beliefs are in my way, and that does feel applicable both to the Divine Feminine Prostitute and the Divine Masculine Hedonist. Let me read you this one. Deconstructing doubt. Thank you for the alliteration, Matt Kahn. I really enjoy his work so much. He's younger than I am too. Feels good. Like I'll be able to croak and he can keep going. Not anytime soon. I look too good at 51. Deconstructing doubt. Only my beliefs are in my way. As you deconstruct doubt, you are no longer lost in the concerns and curiosities of what if, but are more rooted in the truth of what is. When doubt is deconstructed, hardship is no longer a sign of misfortune. It is an opportunity to step outside your comfort zone and meet the higher aspects of soul that exist just beyond the boundary of the self. This mantra is ideal for aligning with truth, being more self-actualized, and transforming inferiority, fear of inadequacy. All right, so we always get the right cards. The Divine takes care of that. You have no idea how much I pray and meditate and do yoga and Wim Hof breathing before I do this stuff. I gotta be in alignment for this. That's why the clarity comes, not because I'm some fucking genius, although repetition is the mother of skill. So deconstructing doubt. Only my beliefs are in my way. So considering beliefs are an air element, that's probably going to affect a little bit more of the hedonist, but even if the prostitute can really get like, okay, if I don't want to leave because I'm afraid to go out on my own, or I don't want to speak up, right? I don't want to complain, even though I feel, although she's having such a good time, this may come and play later. I just went to this thing of signs. Keep your eye on the signs, though. External, internal, intuitive, intellectual, how they come, because there's definitely a power dynamic here that might very well be fueled by a fear of inadequacy. So only my beliefs are in my way. And remember the acronym for fear: false evidence appearing real, which is cliche and annoying, but it really is thought-based. Hence that thing of miracles. Really, I would recommend looking into the Course in Miracles, at least a cursory glance. Marianne Williamson wrote a book, Return to Love. It's the primer. If you're not into Marianne Williamson, I am. I met her. She's this tall and amazing. I met her twice, book signings. But then perhaps you might want to check out Disappearance of the Universe by Gary Renard, often called the can opener if the Course in Miracles is the can. A little bit freakier than very opposite ends of the spectrum. Oh, and there are so many other teachers of A Course in Miracles, but for the Divine Feminine, miracles and blessings, so that you can kind of shift some of the beliefs here from a thought system based in fear to a thought system based in love. Let's do your overview. I'll pop up the picture and we'll see what else jumps. Cool? Magic clap. Because we've got this divine feminine prostitute celebrating, dancing the hora, fulfillment of desire with intimacy, and they're really feeling it, really wanting to get close, and seeing this, experiencing this as miracles and blessings, that everything has its gift. Feels like if she's got any sort of, Eckhart Tolle, power of now, Zen, Taoist in the moment, right, Eastern training here, to really enjoy this. But the question there is she negotiating away her self-esteem and her empowerment for comfort? Is she not stepping up because the intimacy may not be shared, but the goodies are so goody-goody? And because here we got this hedonist, right? This divine masculine hedonist. It's in his nature, perhaps is into nature, which both of those can be true, but with that Nine of Pentacles, that it feels like he's the one sort of supporting all of this physically, financially. So she's enjoying it, but he's sort of dishing it out. And he's happy. There's definitely a sense of happiness there, but perhaps that is based on the Nine of Pentacles status that he's in, because he's not fully at that Ten of Pentacles. Maybe he will be someday, but she's at Ten of Flames, so she might be way over the moon in this, and him not so much so. And that if he can turn on his heart light, open up his heart, that might be, in a way, symbolically that 10th pentacle that opens this up. Now, I will be honest with you. Matt Kahn, in his video, by the way, do check out the video links below. He did a video, I have it down there, called Soul Contracts, Redefining Twin Flames and Soulmates Redefined, where he says there is the rare occasion where a twin flame becomes a soulmate. This feels like there is a potential for that, but really depending upon that turn on your heart light and dealing with that fear of inadequacy, particularly for the divine feminine. For the divine feminine, it's going to be about her really taking the risk of empowering, being willing to walk away if this is really not so much a loving thing, but more of a purely hedonistic thing. Well, the money's good and the sex is great, but, he doesn't respect me. Not great, right? And then, of course, looking at this relationship, the contract itself, it's the child archetype. Now, that does indicate that this might be somewhat new or in its initial stages of development. But in terms of the light and the shadow, it definitely feels like the divine feminine is that one who has the belief that everything is possible. And the divine masculine has that shadow of pessimism, depression, and disbelief in miracles. And I see that relationship pattern over and over and over in the spiritual community, right? It's usually the women, the wives, the females, even the divine feminine males that come in, and their partners are usually not so into it. But yet the signs are there. Now, you could say the writing is on the wall here, and that's going to differ what that writing is from contract to contract in this Leo collective, but there's definitely, a controlled expansion. Now I see it. That with that Emperor card, there's the control, and with that Sagittarius card, expansion, mutable fire, right? Like a wildfire, fire out of control, but yet somehow being controlled and channeled. And I like that. But with that fear of inadequacy, there is definitely some holding back. Can be on both sides. In fact, probably is on both sides. That's probably one of the twin aspects, which is why the higher self is saying honesty is essential, because only my beliefs are in my way. And if there's going to be a conversation here, let it begin with that, right? It's like, I want to look at the doubts that I have here, both sides, in equal, honest conversation, both getting the chance to speak, both getting a chance to be heard. That I believe that only my beliefs are in the way, but I need to speak them, and I need to speak them not just to myself, not just to a counselor, a therapist, or a friend, but I need to speak it to the person I'm actually in this relationship with. Because if only my beliefs are in my way, perhaps then if I am the divine feminine, I can believe that if this is not for me, if this is really twin flame and it's not going to convert to soulmate, then I will be fine. And if I got this far, if God can bring me to it, God can bring me through it, the gods can walk me into the next relationship or the next celebratory aspect of my life. But I must deconstruct doubt. For the divine masculine, he may have a real big doubt about turning on his heart light, right? So if only his beliefs are in the way, maybe he can address that too, because both of them share that fear of inadequacy, which is definitely I hate to put it this way, considering punch bowl being such a festive idea, but that fear of inadequacy can very much be the turd in the punch bowl. They might as well be honest about how they feel and what they think. So there you have it, my Leo collective Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus sign, whichever you are, divine feminine, divine masculine, maybe you relate to both. Because there's a lot of good feeling stuff going on here. I could see there being some confusion. So give it a couple of days, a week, come back, look at this one, see what's happened, what's evolved. But really, only my beliefs are in the way. Chant it, sing it, dance it, stir it in your coffee, put it in your bath water. That's going to help kind of clear things out as you deconstruct doubt. Thank you so much for watching. May this Leo collective Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus sign twin flame contract be blessed with all that it needs, that they may learn how to heal themselves, learn how to love themselves, and transform themselves in this relationship to the very best and the very best that they can be in fulfillment of the divine plan. So mote it be. Amen. And so it is. Please do like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that cool stuff, comment away. If you can add some clarity to this, because this is all I got, are these like cards, but if you can kind of comment below and say, yeah, this is that, I'm this, that, because people do that. And then I sit back and I go, oh, I don't always comment, but I always like and hit the heart thingy. I always do that. Cool, cool. So wishing you the very best and the very blessed of the rest of February and, of course, all of March, twin flame or no, as I sign off, as I always do, really from my Leo rising heart to your Leo Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus sign heart. Hail, farewell, and blessed, 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 blessed be.